Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Clinton Victory Series, the election series. We are now at the 2030 midterms, the first term midterm wave for President Steve Novick. Let's see if, he outperforms what a typical president does in a midterm, or if he crashes and burns like a typical one does. It is now 7 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Indiana Senate race, Luke Messer will be the projected winner, winning another term to the United States Senate as he goes on to defeat Ron Klain by 34 percentage points. Out of Vermont Senate race, Becca Balint will be elected to her first term to the United States Senate, defeating incumbent Republican Christina Nolan. The reason Republicans have an incumbent senator out of Vermont is because of Al Giordano's death in July of 2023, and Governor Phil Scott replaced him with Christina Nolan. Balint will go on to defeat Nolan by 16 percentage points. Out of Virginia Senate race, it is currently too close to call. Incumbent Kenny Alexander has a 40-point lead over Ron Vitiello, a former Trump White House official. And here's the current Senate composition on your screen now. Democrats being led by Michael Bennet, the Colorado senator. They have 32 seats, while the Republicans led by Marco Rubio, the Florida senator, have 37 seats. Out of South Carolina's governor race, Pamela Evett will be the projected winner. She will be reelected to another term as governor. She goes on to defeat Stephen Benjamin by 12 percentage points. Out of Vermont's governor race, Molly Gray will be reelected to another term. She will go on to defeat former state auditor Tom Salmon by 16. Out of Georgia's governor race, not Georgia's Georgia race, but Georgia's governor race, it is currently too close to call as Governor Qasim Reed is currently leading his opponent, former state attorney general Chris Carr, by 6 percentage points. And here's the governor's composition on your screen now. Delaware Governor Matthew Dent leading the Democrats with 5 seats, and Indiana Governor Trey Hollingsworth leading the Republicans with 10 seats. It is now 7:30 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Ohio Senate race, Frank LaRose will be reelected to another term as senator, going on to defeat Morgan Harper by 22 percentage points, a big victory for Frank LaRose. Out of West Virginia Senate race, Alex Mooney will be re-elected to another term as he will go on to defeat Richard Ojeda by 45 points. Out of Virginia Senate race, we can now project that Kenny Alexander will be re-elected to another term as a U.S. Senator out of Virginia, going on to win by around 9 points over his opponent. And here is the current Senate compositions. Republicans lead 39 to 33. Out of Ohio's governor race, we can project that we can have a flip at poll closings for Ohio as Ron Hood will be elected to his first term as governor, flipping the seat from blue to red as he goes on to defeat Nan Whaley by 12 percentage points, underperforming Frank LaRose's margin by quite a bit, 10 percentage points even. Out of Georgia's governor race, we can now call that Chris Carr will be elected as the governor of Georgia, defeating incumbent Qasim Reed, flipping this from blue to red as he goes on to win by 7 percentage points. Big victory for Chris Carr tonight. And here's the governor's composition. Republicans lead 12 to 5. It is now 8 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Florida Senate race, the runner-up to the 2028 Republican primary, Ron DeSantis, will be elected to his first term as a U.S. Senator as Jeff Atwater is retiring this year, and DeSantis will take his place. He goes on to defeat Debbie Mercastle-Powell by 17 percentage points. DeSantis continuing his huge strings of big victories in Florida. Out of Mississippi Senate race, Chris McDaniel will be re-elected to another term as a senator, defeating Jeremy Anderson by 19 percentage points. Out of Missouri Senate race, Josh Hawley will be re-elected. He will go on to defeat Wesley Bell by 17. Out of Tennessee Senate race, controversial Senator Stephen Fincher will be re-elected to another term, defeating Gloria Johnson by 17. Out of Maryland Senate race, another controversial senator, but this time on the Democrat side, is Chelsea Manning will be re-elected to another term to the Senate, defeating Kathy Sezelgia by 11 points. Manning continuing her streak of having safe but extremely closer than normal races in Maryland. Out of Massachusetts Senate race, Jake Auchincloss will be elected to his first term to the United States Senate, succeeding Alan Kazai as he goes on to defeat Shiva Ayyadurai by 24 percentage points. Out of Connecticut Senate race, currently too close to call, incumbent Chris Murphy currently has a 24-point lead over pro-choice Republican Gretchen Carlson. Out of Delaware Senate race, currently too close to call here as well. We have two very fringe candidates, two candidates on the fringe of their parties, the far left versus the far right, but Kerry Harris the incumbent has a 40-point lead over Lauren Witzke right now. Out of Maine Senate race, currently too close to call, incumbent Cynthia Deal has a 16-point lead over Republican Steve Abbott. Out of New Jersey Senate race, currently too close to call, Josh Geitheimer, looking to win his first term to the Senate, currently has a 24-point lead over Andrew Aristoff Sidamon, the former Attorney General of New Jersey. Out of Pennsylvania Senate race, currently too close to call, John Fetterman, the former lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania, currently has a 20-point lead over former Congressman Keith Rothfuss. Out of Rhode Island Senate race, currently too close to call, and Nellie Gorbea has a 40-point lead over Scott Avedisian. Both of these guys are looking to succeed Sheldon Whitehouse in the Senate, not the White House. And here's the current Senate composition. Republicans lead 43 to 35. Out of Alabama's governor race, Linda Blanchard will go on to be elected to another term as governor, going on to defeat Walt Maddox by 19 percentage points. Out of Oklahoma's governor race, Kevin Stitt, a very unpopular governor, will go on to win re-election, defeating Monroe Nichols by 44 percentage points. This is mostly due to Nichols running a far-left campaign and turning off a lot of independent voters that went to Stitt despite his unpopularity. Out of Tennessee's governor race, Andy Ogles will be re-elected to another term as governor, defeating Andy Burke by 19 percentage points. Ogles will be re-elected there. Out of Maryland's governor race, incumbent Wes Moore will be elected to his first full term as governor. He succeeded Tom Perez as governor when he decided to become a Supreme Court justice. Then Wes Moore will be elected to a first full term in his own right, defeating Barry Glassman by 11 points. Another close race, closer than normal race in Maryland. And out of Massachusetts governor race, Kim Driscoll will be elected to her first full term in her own right. She succeeded Vice President Laura Healey when she became vice president. Kim Driscoll will be elected in her own right now, defeating Leah Allen by 19 percentage points. Out of Connecticut's governor race, currently too close to call, Dan Drew has a 24-point lead over Temis Clarides. Out of Illinois' governor race, too close to call, incumbent Juliana Stratton has a 40-point lead over Avery Bourne. Out of Maine's governor race, too close to call, former Maine House Speaker Mark Eves has a 16-point lead over Mary Mayhew, a former Trump White House official. Out of New Hampshire's governor race, too close to call, Chris Pappas, the incumbent governor, has a 30-point lead over Frank Eldeblatt. Out of Pennsylvania's governor race, too close to call, Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis has a 10-point lead over Kerry Del Rosso. Rhode Island's governor race, too close to call, Senator Matt Brown, who is looking to be elected governor and leave the Senate, currently has a 40-point lead over Jessica De La Cruz. And here's the current governor's composition. Republicans have 15 seats to the Democrats 7. It is now 8:30 p.m. We have poll closings out of the state of Arkansas, where we don't have any Senate races here, but we do have updates out of Delaware, where Perry Harris will be re-elected to another term to the United States Senate, defeating Lauren Witzke by 9 points. A very low turnout election in Delaware. Both candidates were very polarizing and just people did not want to turn out. Out of Rhode Island Senate race, Nellie Gorbea will be elected to her first full term, to her first term to the United States Senate, defeating Scott Avedisian by 9 percentage points, a closer than normal race out of Rhode Island. Out of Connecticut Senate race, currently too close to call, Chris Murphy now has a 4-point lead over Gretchen Carlson, a very close election out of Connecticut here. Out of Maine Senate race, too close to call, Cynthia Deal has a 2-point lead over Steve Abbott. If no one gets above 50% in the final vote, then we'd have to go to ranked choice voting, which will favor Cynthia Deal. Out of New Jersey Senate race, too close to call, Josh Geitheimer has a 4-point lead over Aristof Sidamon. Pennsylvania Senate race, too close to call, John Fetterman has a 15-point lead over Keith Rothfuss. And here's the current Senate composition. Republicans lead 43 to 37. Out of Arkansas's governor race, Tim Griffin, the two-time lieutenant governor, will be elected as governor of the state, defeating Greg Leding by 29 percentage points. Out of Illinois' governor race, we can now project that Juliana Stratton will be re-elected to her second term as governor, defeating Avery Bourne by 9 percentage points. Out of Pennsylvania's governor race, another flip for the Republicans as Kerry Del Rosso will be elected as the governor of Pennsylvania. Big victory for Republicans as she goes on to win by 5 percentage points, even going on to win Center County, which is, of course, in the center of the state. Out of Rhode Island's governor race, you can now project that Matt Brown will be elected as the governor of the state and will most likely get to appoint his replacement to the United States Senate. It'll be interesting to see who he picks as he goes on to defeat Cruz by 9 percentage points. Out of Connecticut's governor race, it is currently too close to call. Dan Drew has a 4-point lead over Temis Clarides. Out of Maine's governor race, too close to call. Mark Eves has a 2-point lead over Mary Mayhew. New Hampshire's governor race, too close to call. Chris Pappas has a 10-point lead over Frank Eldeblatt. And here's the current governor's composition. Republicans lead 17 to 9. It is now 9 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Nebraska Senate race, Shane Osborne will be re-elected to another term to the United States Senate, defeating Carol Blood by 29 percentage points. Out of North Dakota Senate race, Kevin Kramer will be re-elected, going on to defeat Jasper Schneider by 40 points. Out of Wyoming Senate race, Eric Prince will be elected to another term to the United States Senate, defeating Chris Rothfuss by 40. Out of Arizona's governor race, it is currently too close to call. Its Congressman Greg Stanton currently has a 14-point lead over incumbent Doug Ducey. Out of Michigan Senate race, currently too close to call. Elisa Slotkin, the U.S. Congresswoman out of Michigan, is currently leading by 16 points over former Congressman Mike Rogers. Out of Minnesota Senate race, currently too close to call. Former Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, currently has a 30-point lead over Royce White, a former NBA player. Out of New Mexico Senate race, currently too close to call. Hector Balderas, the Lieutenant Governor of New Mexico, currently has a 10-point lead over former Albuquerque Mayor Richard Berry. Out of New York Senate race, a very unexpected close race out of New York. However, the governor's race will explain why here in a second. But Kirsten Gillibrand currently has a 40-point lead over former George W. Bush, White House official Dan Senior. Out of Texas Senate race, currently too close to call. State Senator Tracy Andrus has a 6-point lead over incumbent Ted Cruz. Out of Wisconsin Senate race, too close to call. Sarah Godlewski, the Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, currently has a 2-point lead over incumbent Kevin Nicholson. Out of Connecticut Senate race, we can now project that Chris Murphy will be reelected. Sweat was dropping down the face of Democrats in this race, as they could have lost the Connecticut Senate race. However, that's not to be done, as Chris Murphy will be narrowly reelected to another term to the Senate, winning by 1 percentage point over Gretchen Carlson. Out of Maine Senate race, Steve Abbott will be elected to his first term as senator. The chief of staff to Susan Collins will go on to win the Senate race. A gain for Republicans, a big win for Republicans, as he goes on to break the 50% threshold, defeating Cynthia Diehl by 2 percentage points. Big win for Republicans and Steve Abbott. Out of New Jersey, Josh Gottheimer will be elected to his first term to the United States Senate, defeating Andrew Airsoft Sedimon by 1 percentage points. New England Senate races are very close this cycle. It's very weird to see. And out of Pennsylvania Senate race, currently too close to call. John Fetterman has an 8-point lead over Keith Rothfuss right now. And here is the current Senate composition. Republicans lead 47-39. Republicans need 51 seats to continue to regain or retain their majority. They had a 54-seat majority going into tonight, and they're looking to expand. Out of Colorado's governor race, Mike Johnston will go on to be elected to his first term as governor, defeating Heidi Ganahl by 11 points. Big win for progressives in Colorado. Out of Kansas governor race, a flip at poll closings, the second one of the night. Ron Rickman Jr., the former Kansas House Speaker, will be elected as his first term as governor, defeating Lieutenant Governor David Tolan by 17 percentage points, flipping the seat red. Out of Nebraska's governor race, Brett Lindstrom, former state senator, will be elected as the governor of the state, going on to defeat Sarah Howard by 29 percentage points. Out of South Dakota's governor race, Larry Roden will be reelected to another term as governor, defeating Dan Ehlers by 44 percentage points. Out of Wisconsin's governor race, the third poll closings flip at the governor's level. Sean Duffy will be elected to his first term as governor, even though he was just elected senator just 2 years prior. And you'll never guess who he defeated. He defeated his opponent 2 years beforehand, Mandela Barnes, the incumbent governor, who's losing by 14 points to Senator Sean Duffy. Big victory for Republicans. The red wave pushed this even further to the right than their last victory, or their last battle against each other, which was a 9-point victory for Duffy. Big win for the Republicans out of Wisconsin. Out of Wyoming's governor race, controversial Governor Rick Rammel will be reelected to another term as governor, as he goes on to defeat Mike Yen, a state congressman, by 49 percentage points. Out of Arizona's governor race, it is too close to call. Marco Lopez Jr., a state congressman, currently has a 4-point lead over Treasurer Kimberly Yee. Out of Michigan's governor race, too close to call. Incumbent Jocelyn Benson, who succeeded Garland Gilchrist when he became Secretary of the Interior, currently has a 16-point lead over Tom Barrett. Out of Minnesota's governor race, too close to call. Peggy Flanagan, the incumbent governor, has a 20-point lead over State Senator Michelle Benson. Out of New Mexico's governor race, too close to call. Incumbent Howie Morales has a 20-point lead over Congresswoman Yvette Harrell. Out of New York's governor race, this is why Kirsten Gillibrand's seat is competitive. And as you can see here, Dan Goldman currently has a 30-point lead over Lee Zeldin, underperforming Kirsten Gillibrand right now, as Lee Zeldin is doing very well in this gubernatorial race. Out of Texas governor race, is currently too close to call. Incumbent Julian Castro has a 6-point lead over former chairman of the Republican Party in Texas, Alan West. And out of Connecticut's governor race, Dan Drew will be elected to his first term as governor, narrowly defeating Timmis Careeds by 1 point. Republicans put up 2 very good candidates to run statewide in Connecticut this year. Very good on them. And out of Maine's governor race, another flip for Republicans on the governor's level and another flip for Republicans in Maine as Mary Mayhew will be elected as the governor of the state, the first Republican governor since Garrett Mason back in 2018, as she will go on to defeat Mark Ebbs by 2 percentage points. Out of New Hampshire's governor race, Chris Pappas, a major L for the Republicans, as Chris Pappas, a very popular governor in the state of New Hampshire, will be re-elected to another term, defeating Frank Edelblut by 4 percentage points. And here is the current governor's composition. Republicans just so close to regaining the governor's majority, as Democrats have had it for so long, but Republicans lead 23-12. It is now 10 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Montana's Senate race, Ryan Zink will be elected to his first term to the United States Senate, succeeding the retiring Matt Rosendale, as he will go on to defeat Wilmot Collins by 17 percentage points. Republicans were kind of scared that this would have been competitive. Ryan Zink was very unpopular in Montana, however, that did not happen, thankfully. And out of Nevada Senate race is currently too close to call. This was Dean Heller's seat, however, he's retiring. Aaron Ford, the lieutenant governor of the state, is currently leading Jeffrey Gunther, an ambassador to the Trump administration, by 10 percentage points. And out of New Mexico Senate race, we can now make a call. A big win for Republicans. Richard Berry will be elected to the United States Senate out of New Mexico, the first Republican governor since Pete Domenici, I believe is how you pronounce his name, as he will go on to defeat Lieutenant Governor Hector Balderas by 5 percentage points even, a big victory for a Republican out of New Mexico. And out of New York Senate race, Kirsten Gillibrand will be re-elected to another term in the Senate in her most competitive race yet, as she will go on to beat Dan Senor by 9 percentage points. Very close for a federal election in the state of New York. And out of Texas Senate race, Ted Cruz will be re-elected again out of Texas, defeating Tracy Andrews by 7 points and keeping the seat in Republican hands. And out of Wisconsin, Kevin Nicholson will be re-elected to another term of the United States Senate, defeating Sarah Godlewski by 9 percentage points, underperforming Sean Duffy in the process. And we can now project that the majority will go to the Republican Party. The Republicans will retain the majority in the United States Senate. A big L for the Democrats, as they were at least hoping to take seats away, but that doesn't seem to be the case here tonight. Out of Arizona's governor race, too close to call. Greg Stanton currently has a 2-point lead over incumbent Doug Ducey. Out of Michigan Senate race, too close to call. Elisa Slotkin has a 2-point lead over Mike Rogers. Minnesota Senate race, too close to call. Ellison has a 10-point lead. Pennsylvania, too close to call. Fetterman's lead drops to about 3 points. And here is the current Senate composition on your screen now. Republicans at 51 seats to the Democrats 40. Out of Iowa's governor race, Adam Gregg will be re-elected to another term as governor, going on to defeat Sidney Axne by 24 percentage points, winning all but 2 counties in the process. Out of Nevada's governor race, former U.S. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, who lost to Adam Laxalt 2 years ago, is looking to re-enter politics and get, a comeback going, as she has a 10-point lead over Joe Lombardo, who also lost a statewide election recently. He lost to Marilyn Kirkpatrick 4 years ago. He's also looking to make a comeback, but only one person can make a comeback after tonight. Out of Arizona's governor race, we can now project that Kimberly Yee will flip this seat from blue to red, as she will defeat Marco Lopez Jr. by 8 percentage points, a big victory for her out of Arizona. Texas governor race, Alan West will be re-elected to another term, or will be elected to his first term as governor, flipping this seat from blue to red as he goes on to defeat incumbent Julian Castro by 7 points. Castro had an approval rating in the high 40s, however, that really didn't save them in this race. And we can now project that the majority will go to Republicans in the Governor's Association. They will finally take back the majority that, has been gone for so long, and the Republicans finally retaking it. And out of Michigan's governor race, currently too close to call. Jocelyn Benson has a 2-point lead over Tom Barrett. Out of Minnesota's governor race, still too close to call. Peggy Flanagan has a 15-point lead over Michelle Benson. New Mexico, same story here. Morales has a 15-point lead over Harold. Out of New York's governor race, currently too close to call. Dan Goldman has a 10-point lead over Lee Zeldin. And here is the governor's composition on your screen now. Republicans lead 26-12, and Democrats can't come back after this, after it's already been projected. It is now 11 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of California Senate race, Kevin DeLeon will be re-elected to another term to the United States Senate, defeating Brian Dahl by 31 percentage points. Out of Hawaii Senate race, Esther Kiana will go on to win her first term to the United States Senate, defeating Charles DeJoe by 11 points. Out of Washington Senate race, for the, second cycle straight, Jane Butler has made this race competitive, as she is currently trailing the governor of Washington, Hillary Franz, by 30 points. And at a Nevada Senate race, we can now project that Jeffrey Gunther will go on to keep this seat in Republican hands. He will be elected to his first term, defeating Aaron Ford by 5 percentage points. Out of Arizona Senate race, we can project that Doug Ducey will be re-elected to another term to the United States Senate, defeating Rick Stanton by 3 points. I believe this is Ducey's closest race yet. Stanton was a very strong contender for the seat. Out of Michigan Senate race, Mike Rogers will be elected to another term to the United States Senate, and will be elected to his first term, a gain for Republicans, defeating Elisa Slotkin. I believe that means Republicans have... No, the John James got beat by Mike Duggan, who retired, so Rogers is taking back the seat for Republicans. They were hoping John James would run, but, you know, he didn't. But Rogers will go on to win the seat for them nonetheless. Out of Minnesota Senate race, Keith Ellison will be elected to his first term to the Senate, a very controversial figure. However, he will go on to defeat Royce White by 4 percentage points. And out of Pennsylvania Senate race, still too close to call, as Fetterman will go on to be re-elected, or as Fetterman is leading by 2 points. And here's the current Senate composition on your screen now. Republicans lead 54 to 43. Out of California's governor race, Kevin Paffrath will go on to be re-elected to another term as governor, defeating Lonnie Chen by 31 points. Out of Hawaii's governor race, Josh Green will go on to be elected as governor in his first term, defeating Andrea Tupola by 16 percentage points. Out of Oregon's governor race, Nicholas Kristof will be elected to his first full term as governor, as it was a very complicated situation. Tobias Reed was the lieutenant governor at the time, but Tina Kotek was the governor, and Kotek got elected to the United States Senate. And then Steve Novick had to go, so Reed was appointed by the state Senate to replace Novick, and then Kristof, who was the Secretary of State, then became it's a whole mess. But Nicholas Kristof will be elected to his first full term as governor, defeating Dallas Hurd by 11 points. And out of Idaho's governor race, Janice McGetchen will be re-elected to another term as governor, defeating Alana Rubel by 44 percentage points. Out of Nevada's governor race, Joe Lombardo will be the one to make that comeback, as he has flipped this governor's seat from blue to red, as he will defeat Catherine Cortez Masto by 5 points, a similar margin to the Senate race. Out of Michigan's governor race, Tom Barrett will be elected to the governorship out of Michigan, as he will flip this seat from blue to red, defeating Jocelyn Benson by 2 percentage points. Out of New York's governor race, Dan Goldman will be elected as governor. A sad day for Republicans. Lee Zeldin got defeated by Dan Goldman. Even though the race was extremely competitive, Zeldin even won Erie County in the process. He will end up losing to Dan Goldman by 4 percentage points. However, this is the best performance for a Republican in New York in ages, so good on you, Lee Zeldin. Out of Minnesota's governor race, is currently too close to call. Peggy Flanagan is a 2-point lead over Michelle Benson. Out of New Mexico's governor race, too close to call. Howie Morales is a 2-point lead over Yvette Harrell. And here's the current governor's composition. Republicans have 29 seats to the Democrats' 16. It is now 1 a.m. We have poll closings out of the state of Alaska. We have no Senate races for Alaska, but we do have updates. Out of Washington Senate race, is currently too close to call still, as Franz is a 10-point lead over Butler. Out of Pennsylvania Senate race, is currently too close to call still, as there is a statistical tie between the two candidates. And here is the governor's or Senate composition heading into the, final batches of, election calls, as Republicans lead 56 to 42. And here's the Alaska governor race. It is currently too close to call. However, David Wilson is at 30%, Peter Masiecki at 25%, and the incumbent governor, Elise Galvin, at 23%. It's funny to see her in third when she's the incumbent governor. In fourth place is former Lieutenant Governor Valerie Davidson. She will be bumped out, and her votes will be allocated amongst the other candidates. Out of Minnesota's governor race, it is still too close to call. A statistical tie between the two candidates, and same thing out of New Mexico, too close to call. A statistical tie. Here's the current governor's composition. Republicans 29 to Democrats 18. It is now 1:15 a.m. We can now make a call out of Washington Senate race, as Hillary Franz, the incumbent governor, will end up becoming a U.S. Senator, as she will go on to defeat Jane Butler by 4 points, the closest Senate race in Washington in quite a while. And it is now 1:30 a.m. We can now make a update out of Alaska. And out of Alaska's governor race, as you can see here, Elise Galvin has bumped herself up to second place due to the vote allocation from Valerie Davidson. Most of her votes went to her. But David Wilson still leads with 34%, Elise Galvin at 33%, and Peter Masiecki at 31%. Masiecki's vote will be split amongst the two candidates, We'll have to see if a Palin-Begich effect happens here, or if Miseci's votes cause Wilson to cross the finish line. It is now 1:45 a.m. We can now make a major projection out of Pennsylvania, and out of the Pennsylvania Senate race, Keith Rothfuss will go on to defeat John Fetterman. A big win for him here tonight, as he will go on to win the seat for Republicans and win this Senate race by 0.2% in a red wave, no less. I don't know if this is a big win, but it's a win nonetheless. It is now 2 a.m. We can now make a call out of Alaska's governor race, and David Wilson will flip the seat from, I guess, grayish blue to red, as Wilson will end up becoming the first black governor of the state of Alaska, defeating Elise Galvin by 4 percentage points. Elise Galvin, instead of gray, she's in blue. Anyway. It is now 2:15 a.m. We can now make a call out of Minnesota, where the governor's race will flip Republican, as Michelle Benson will be elected to her first term as governor. She will go on to defeat incumbent Peggy Flanagan by 0.3%. It is now 2:30 a.m. We can now make a call out of New Mexico, where Yvette Herrell will be elected as governor of the state, the first Republican governor since Susana Martinez. And Yvette Herrell will go on to win this by the closest margin you could possibly get, 0.1%. This was a very close election out of New Mexico, and there will absolutely be recounts, but we can safely say Herrell has won. And here is the final Senate composition. Democrats have 43 seats to the Republicans' 57. Republicans weren't quite able to get a supermajority as they were hoping, but they still got a large majority nonetheless, and Steve Novick's job has become even harder. And here's the final governor's composition. Democrats have 18 seats to the Republicans' 32. And the House majority we can now project will go to the Republicans, a flip from 2028 where the Democrats won it. Tom Emmer is expected to become Speaker of the House of Representatives, as, of course, Republicans have 239 seats led by Tom Emmer, while the Democrats, led by Hakeem Jeffries, have 196. And here is the congressional map on your screen now. I'll give you a few seconds to look at that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Chaotic One saying, peace.